Oh, that should be interesting to see. Soggy, yeah.
Two men now. Scott's going to man the head thing. We need two to put in the tub, like two here, two, four, maybe 6, 8 men would be nice.
Sure, and I'll be at the bottom.
Sure, of course.
Sure, and I'll be at the bottom.
She looks awful clean now.
That's okay, I got longer set.
That's that show shirt.
Mark, you gonna help?
Who else? Who's gonna watch the tank, Ray?
Huh?
Who's putting them in the tank?
Go over the last 2 men. Where's Bryant? I want Bryant. Where's... I want Brian putting the fish in.
Well, I was looking.
You want me to take care? We're gonna grab and leave them.
All the body parts are in.
But I'm saying we're gonna grab and leave them tail up on the bag, so they got something to grab hold.
Looking that way.
Big ones are still here. These are, this is 3-year-old.
3?
The shower.
Well done.
Really?
pull against each other. Keep them straight. Never touch the tail.
We gotta turn the pumps on, get the water down a little bit more.
Take a break.
It'll be a few minutes. Yeah, I thought you could relate to that, Mike.
Oh, go ahead, Ray. Going right back the other mile.
This is the one.
5 years.
I don't remember which one it was. I was busy looking at the side. I didn't know if the showing it.
My name is Ray Abell. Nishiki Nagata is a business. I buy pretty much exclusively from the Niigata area. Last year, I keep going back to Sakai. Well, after the earthquake, some grades of fish weren't available, so I got hooked up with Sakai last January via Chiyoshi and stuff, and brought in some very good fish. And, but anyhow, started out as a hobbyist, I guess, like everybody else, and got that love and passion for the fish. And just so everybody knows, you cannot do this as a job, X number of hours per week, and be paid for it, whatever that would be appropriate. You have to love this thing to be able to handle work with these fish, because the fish, they don't know what time it is. If it's Sunday afternoon, I mean Sunday night at 11 o'clock, they need this or that, you got to do it. So I guess I started out as a hobbyist, and now, you know, I'm what the Japanese call professional, and I still have that passion for the fish in certain grades, but I guess I've become very finicky as to what is considered good now. The longer you're in the hobby, the better your eye becomes, and you find out that there's less and less good fish, which makes them harder and harder to find, which makes it harder and harder to satisfy that desire to have good fish. So it's a double-edged sword in the fact that you have the love and all for the fish, but the more you find out about the fish, basically the more you hate them. So I don't know, it's kind of unusual situation, but to answer Brady's question, yeah, I like to fish very much, and hopefully I will for a few years. Hopefully they don't kill me. So we'll see.
Let's get 2 more. Then you want me to pump back on, or?
Ah.
I don't know. I mean, it's getting much crowded down here. There ain't gonna be that many. So maybe put a little one on.
You ain't got enough fun.
I'll come up with and just do your baby.
To your left. On to the right.
Those are Grant McKinney's. Is that y'all's Grants?
Yeah, exactly.
Dr. Baruso. Tell you what, these are not that big. Give me that.
No black mark. Gone.
Just take the big saucer.
Ray, you're going to have to work out more.
Well, this is Ikarich, what Japanese called Ikarich, or harvest time. And we have 3 ponds here, but in other words, all the fish going in have to be of a certain grade, which we call tatigoi grade, or tatigoi is pretty much a fish for the future, or it develops later on in life. Better tatigois, 5 years or greater on a lot of instances, but in other words, people will buy, or myself, I try to keep tatigoi myself, 2-year-olds particularly. 2-year-olds are somewhat affordable, but 2-year-olds can run up to 20 grand a piece, particularly from some of the high-end. Sockeye is one of the high-end breeders and all. I have one sockeye fish here, nowhere near that kind of money, but and he has 68 cm as a 3-year-old fish. 3 years old technically, the fish is 2 years and 5 months. And we're talking about 68 cm, well, that's about 27 inches at a 3-year-old size. Extremely good growth. But a lot of the other fish as well from other breeds, Dainichi and Terrazzo, Hoshikin, Nogami, these are some of the big names, particularly in Kohaku and Showa. A lot of that fish this year went to 66, 67, 65s. This is all fish greater than 26 inches. But you have to be able to predict or know your fish to basically select a tatigoi. Not all fish are tatigoi, even though the patterns may be this, I mean, very pretty. Usually very pretty patterned fish are not tatigoi, because in other words, a lot of the pretty patterned fish come from smaller type breeders that are able to produce a nice pattern, but they're not able to produce that long-term quality. The longevity of the fish, or the longer the quality lasts, is really what determines the price of the fish in the beginning. And this is for people who basically are familiar with the fish, I mean inside and out, meaning the breeders. And I know enough to, I'm doing pretty good. The breeders tell me their thing is if they select 3 tatigoi and one of them turns out, well, that's all they're shooting for. Around here, we're certainly hitting that mark. But you got to remember, I'm going around selecting the breeder's best tatigoi, so I'm taking some things away from them. And that's the reason my average is maybe a little higher than theirs. I have a longer grower season here too, by about 2 months, so fish tend to be a little larger here as well. Now you go down southern Japan, no, they have a similar growing season, even longer, and some of that fish are a tiny bit bigger. But honestly, I've not seen anybody's fish in Japan with the bodies that we are able to produce here. And this is here, meaning Virginia. This where we're located is literally on the same line as the Niigata area. Similar seasons. The only difference is Niigata is more mountainous, so they tend to have a shorter growing season, about a month less in the spring and about a month less in the fall. The other thing is they have to harvest that fish starting around the 1st of October so that they can sell them. in the past, they used to, particularly, well, Dionysi in particular, he would harvest his better grades and stuff late November, December. Well, I think basically he finally figured out that the buyers are there, the foreigners, and as well as other Japanese and Asian people, dealers and hobbyists as well, are there buying these better grades in October. Most of us, we want to be sitting at home around December and stuff. So anyhow, now most of the guys are harvesting a little bit early, and this is basically has to do with customer. When they have the exposure, well, they need to have the fish up so that they can sell them. So anyhow, it's moved a little shorter, or a little, just a little less growing season. Not by much, just a little bit. I went over with the, I told my wife and a few other people I probably won't go buy many fish this year. And some of it had to do with the KHV thing, but actually the KHV thing is not as much of a problem as the internet makes it out to be. Yes, there's been problems with KHV, but it's, you gotta know these big breeders and stuff, it's a one-way street out of there. But all these big breeders, they're usually old Japanese guys and stuff, and basically the Japanese habit is to eat fish, and they like these black fish, magois. Well, magois is really where the KHV is coming from in Japan. So they figured this out, so pretty much nobody eats magoi anymore if they're a koi dealer. They used to keep the magoi in their fish tanks or greenhouses as well, or outside tanks, and they want dinner, they go ahead and grab one and fix it. Well, anyhow, for instance, all the breeders and stuff that I bought from this year, 21 breeders, 20 of them were certified not to have KHV. One was not certified, but I know him personally. Joshi knows him. We felt pretty comfortable. Anyhow, it turns out he does not have it either. These guys have been certified by the state of Japan, but also at this particular point in time, I'm not sure the date, somewhere around the 12th of November now, these fish have been up in a heated greenhouse now for 4 to 5 weeks. Now, most of the thinking in Japan is that greater than 70, 72 degrees, about 10 to 14 days, and it'll show itself. The other thing about testing for KHV, I don't need anybody to tell me that my head is blown off. KHV is very obvious. I mean, if you have it, the fish are dead. It's simple as that. Yeah, it could be in a carrier state, but not once it's been at somebody's facility where they're greater than 72 degrees. So the KHV thing, a lot of us got blown all out of proportions. And but anyhow, I didn't see no KHV in Japan. But anyhow, the other thing was hanging me up the earthquake. I figured, well, it's going to be kind of a lousy year and all that. And it was. But I was the only one there buying fish, good fish. So I got the best selection of fish I've ever got in my life. And this is something that I hadn't even considered, and that is, and the breeders told me this. In other words, their production was off, a lot of the guys, 50% or greater. So they didn't have the fish to pay the bills. So that meant that they sold me this year, first time ever, their absolute best Tatigoi. And that's to cover costs and stuff, where normally they wouldn't sell them. But this year was absolutely the best year. Probably never happen again in my lifetime. Just the situation, the way it showed itself is that I benefited tremendously from being able to get the high-end fish. Now, most dealers, too, they're over there buying fish that they can sell and make profit on. This is not what I'm talking about. Those grades of fish were down considerably price-wise. Tatigoi grade, good fish, very few good fish anywhere, anytime, any year, there's very few. Most people think you can go to Japan and there's hundreds of them laying around. Oh, I want 2 of these, and I want 2 kohaku and 2 shoros and 3 showas, all Tatigoi grade. Almost impossible to find. But this year, unusually good selection of Tatigoi, but that also means that next year they're not going to have the 3 yills. Also, they lost a lot of that toe size, so that means that they're not going to have 2 yills next year. So really, this thing is not going to really show itself. It's like a huge machine, and it just takes a little while to slow down. Basically, I got the benefits of last year, this year. Well, next year, it's going to be slim in the Niigata area. Southern Japan, other parts of Japan, not affected whatsoever. But always when you go to warm water places, well, there's more of a tendency or propensity to have more problems and stuff. So anyhow, I don't tend to buy from those guys. I do favor Sakai, Hiroshima Sakai's fish, very much. Incredible fish. As not to say he's the best, but he's there in the top 2 or 3 in that range, you know. But he's in southern Japan, but he doesn't have any problems either. So unfortunately, Momotaro, he got whacked really hard, and hopefully he'll come through it and all that. But I guess that's yet to be seen, and we're just going to have to wait on that and see what happens. Hopefully he'll be okay, though.
We've had a good year. See what I meant? Don't you think this is a pretty thing?
Yeah, I think we need to. Get one more day.
You got nothing up there yet, right? For us, it's way late. Or you want to use your net? Want to use your nets for the last 4? Then I'll pump.
To some extent.
very good sunky here. Somebody owns Mr. Baruso.
Wow.
Whose fish is this?
What's the matter, Ray? When I sell them, sometimes I think,
Screwed up, bro.
that's right. Nice 3-year-old show-off.
Lee?
Lee. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Hold on. Oh, God. Holy God. Oh.
Yep.
Wow.
One of them. This man has.
Let's cross on it.
Yeah, Mike's
Amazing.
He's talking about that little thing you said you were worried about has opened up now. Now it's okay. That's it.
Michael, where's Michael? Michael.
Yeah.